What the Voynich manuscript is very difficult to say because nobody has been able to read a word of it for 400 and some years. It has an incredibly careful and precise form of writing in a script that nobody has any idea what it means or how it works or even if it means.
In the summer of 1912, Wilfrid Voynich hunted for old, forgotten books in the Villa Mondragone of Italy. After hours of fruitless searching, he spotted a leather-bound manuscript crafted from animal skin. Unknown to him, he had just stumbled upon a book that would trouble historians, researchers, and archaeologists for generations. For centuries, experts have attempted to crack the code hidden within its pages, but to no avail. No one knows precisely where this cursed book originated, who wrote it, or what the pictures inside represent. Even with advanced computer algorithms, decoding the manuscript has proven incredibly difficult. Why has the manuscript proven difficult to interpret? And why do scientists suspect it contains forbidden rituals? Join us as we examine the mysterious 600 years of the Voynich manuscript. The Voynich manuscript got its name from Wilfrid Voynich. Wilfrid was a Polish-American book dealer who collected rare items in the early 1900s. In 1912, while exploring the Villa Mondragone in Italy, Voynich came across an abandoned manuscript. The history of the manuscript before that was a complete mystery. Although there were many rumors about how the book changed hands over the past 500 years, people have yet to learn the true origin of the manuscript. Since Voynich made this discovery, several generations of researchers who tried to figure it out failed. Who wrote the manuscripts? Why was it written? What language was used? And what does it mean? The questions and mysteries surrounding the Voynich manuscripts today are as much as they were when it was discovered over 100 years ago. That's not all. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with many missing pieces. Some people suggest it was the work of a brilliant but odd individual, while others believe it might be an elaborate prank from the past. This complete mystery makes the Voynich manuscript so interesting that it attracted the attention of researchers, archaeologists, and scientists worldwide. What they did next to uncover the myth will leave you inspired. The first thing the researchers investigated was the date the manuscripts were written. They conducted a carbon dating test that reveals with 95% certainty that the animal skins used for the manuscript come from creatures that died between 1404 and 1438. However, some historians argue that it belongs to someone connected to the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph II, who reigned from 1552 to 1612. This leaves over a century where the manuscript's whereabouts remain unknown. They also found it further clues about the origin may lie within the illustrations. For instance, certain pictures in it, like zodiac symbols, a crown, and a castle wall shape called a swallowtail merlin, indicate that the manuscript was made in southern Germany or perhaps northern Italy. Cracking the Voynich manuscript is like trying to understand the writing of a toddler. Unlike anything scholars have ever seen, the writing system is completely unknown, which has led to wild guesses about the manuscript. Some think it's a secret message for a privileged few, while others believe it's just a bored medieval prankster's work. But nothing could be more fascinating than the contents of the manuscript. Let's take a look. The manuscript contains amazing pictures that leave everyone baffled. These pictures show weird scenes, plants nobody has ever seen, and even space. It's like going to a new world with a stranger showing you around. The more they look at it, the less they understand it. The contents are drawings of plants, but here's the weird part. They must match the plants we know today. It's like being in science class and learning about plants that only exist in a silly storybook. Nobody knows whether these plants are imaginary or show real plants nobody has ever seen. If you think it's full of plant pictures, you're in for a bigger shock. The manuscript also contains pictures of the stars and space. These drawings look like maps of the sky and constellations, showing the people who made the manuscript were interested in what's beyond Earth. It's like finding a pirate treasure map, but instead of gold, the X's mark places nobody has ever seen. Unfortunately, what these pictures mean exactly is still a mystery. Just like the rest of the Voynich manuscript, one of the most popular beliefs about the Voynich manuscript is that it was a text written in an alien language or code. Supporters of this idea believe that the detailed drawings of unfamiliar plants, celestial diagrams, and strange humanoid figures might indicate communication from extraterrestrials. Although this theory is popular among science fiction lovers, it lacks solid evidence and is generally considered speculative. Others believe that the Voynich manuscript might be a medieval doctor's guide or a book of medicinal herbs. This theory suggests that unusual drawings depict medicinal plants, and the text might contain instructions for making potions or carrying out alchemical experiments. However, there's a problem with this theory. None of the plants seem familiar, and there are no symbols commonly used in alchemy. So, while it's a possibility, it's still up for debate. The lovers of religion are not included, and they suggest that the manuscript is connected to some forgotten faiths or mysterious rituals. Promoters of the theory believe that cryptic writing and puzzling illustrations might be key to understanding secret societies, lost knowledge, and even mystical and magical practices. While it's an interesting idea, more concrete evidence is needed to keep it firmly in speculation. The Voynich manuscript throws another curveball with its illustrations. Some sections depict nude women holding objects near or pointing toward their genitals. These images wouldn't be expected in a book solely focused on plants or astronomy. To crack the code of these illustrations, researchers took a new approach. They looked into the practices of late medieval gynecology and sexology, which doctors back then often called women's secrets, and found no correlations with the nude drawings in the manuscript. The zeal and efforts of scientists who tried decoding this mystery using old technologies will leave you dumbfounded. Scientists from various fields have tried interpreting the Voynich manuscript for centuries. In the early days, humanities scholars primarily took a crack at the code. One such scholar was William Newbold, a 19th century philosopher passionate about cryptographic technology. In 1921, Newbold proposed that the manuscript was a scientific text written by a 13th century friar. He believed the strange symbols were tiny codes that could only be read with a magnifying glass, a theory that microscopes existed much earlier than previously thought. However, after Newbold's death, his ideas were debunked by John Manley, a literature professor interested in code breaking. Manley showed that Newbold's methods needed more logical, not based on sound scientific principles. Next came William and Elizabeth Friedman, famous code breakers who paved the way for modern code breaking systems. They were whizzing at breaking secret messages and even helped crack enemy codes during World War I and II. But even these experts couldn't unlock the mysteries of the Voynich manuscript. While the Friedmans were forced to solve codes by hand during the First World War, technology soon came to the rescue. In the following years, punch card machines built by IBM made the process much faster. These machines worked like giant calculators with punch cards containing the codes. After joining the National Security Agency in the 1950s, William Friedman and other code breakers remained curious about the Voynich manuscript. The NSA even has a copy of the manuscript in its library. Since the Voynich wasn't a secret message, these Cold War code breakers could use it to practice their latest code breaking methods without needing real Soviet messages. All their efforts tragically failed. Modern Voynich research depends heavily on computers, but way more powerful ones than the Friedmans had. Lisa Fagan Davis, a specialist in medieval history who's been following Voynich's research for decades, says these amazing computer advancements have also helped shoot down false claims for solving the code. With these computers, researchers can now analyze and criticize published solutions in a very detailed and almost unbeatable way. Botanist Arthur Tucker has argued since 2013 that the plants depicted in the manuscript originated from the Americas in the 16th century. Recently, he mentioned in an email that his method of interpreting the botanical illustrations, which doesn't rely on computational analysis, has upset scientists who prefer data-driven approaches. He criticized these methods as circular reasoning, though he didn't provide further details. Despite his assertions, his theory has yet to gain acceptance among botanists or data scientists. What approach would be best to interpret the manuscript? Do you support data-driven or other approaches? Let's have your view in the comment section before we continue. Now, let us look at how our powerful technologies have woefully failed to explain the secrets of the cursed manuscript. We are now in the most interesting part of the video, so sit tight. But what may be behind our inability to decode this manuscript? Experts suggest the manuscript has not been decoded because of selfishness and lone wolf research efforts. Despite best efforts, the Voynich manuscript remains unresolved after almost 600 years. Here's the most unfortunate part. Plenty of researchers hope to unlock the secrets of the Voynich manuscript. Just in 2019, a researcher at the California College claimed to have cracked the code. They believe the text is a common form of Latin written in a special shorthand used by the Romans long ago. Later, in 2020, another scholar published a study in a respected academic journal, arguing that the writing system combined several very old languages that eventually turned into the Romance languages we know today, like French and Spanish. However, most of these efforts are done by single individuals rather than a body of experts. To understand how difficult it has been for researchers, some experts have warned against dedicating themselves to decoding the Voynich manuscript. They believe the manuscript is so difficult to understand that researchers will often end up with a ridiculous result no matter the effort. So far, the attempts to decipher the Voynich manuscript, including the 2 claims from last year, have yet to be accepted by other researchers, news organizations, or enthusiasts dedicated to the mystery. Physicist Andreas Schinner also warned that trying to understand the manuscript is like moving through a jungle. Schinner was one of the first researchers to use statistical analysis to try to interpret the manuscript over 10 years ago. He continued, "And just like in any jungle, it's best not to show any weaknesses, not even potential ones." As mentioned earlier, scientists have established that the manuscript was likely created in the 1400s, when books were not so common and made by hand. But where it came from and what it means remain mysteries. This makes it almost impossible to confirm ideas about the manuscript by comparing it to other historical documents. Despite the failures over the years, scholars and scientists are still drawn to the Voynich manuscript for a few reasons. Some see it as a chance to showcase their analytical skills and prove themselves in their fields. Others are eager to put new technology and artificial intelligence to the test, hoping to be the ones to crack the code. And of course, there's a thrill of the hunt and the potential to find a centuries-old mystery. Various modern technologies that have been deployed to interpret the script over the years will leave you speechless. Let's talk about it. Faster computers are the secret weapon in modern attempts to crack the Voynich code. This is especially true for analyzing the language itself. With the manuscript now digitally written out in its strange symbols, researchers can now use computer programs to try and figure out what it means. These programs are like super-powered code breakers that can analyze the text more accurately than ever. One scientist, Andreas Schinner, admits he was partly motivated when he saw other researchers fail. Thought, maybe I can do a better job than that. Being a scientist, Schinner took a mathematical approach to the Voynich manuscript in 2007. He used a method called random walk mapping on the strings of characters. This involved looking at how the characters appeared next to each other, like following a random path. His analyst suggested the text wasn't a real language with structure, but rather created by some random process, like the way raindrops fall. Schinner didn't stop there. In 2019, he conducted further investigations based on his original ideas. He proposed a possible way this random text could have been created using a simple algorithm. He argued that this method was so basic that a medieval writer could have even made it up as a prank. His research adds to the growing theory that the Voynich manuscript might need a meaningful message. Are we all being pranked by someone who lived almost 600 years ago? Other researchers disagree with Schinner's randomness theory. In 2013, a team of scientists from Brazil and Germany analyzed the text using statistics and came to a different conclusion. They believe the text is likely a real language, not just random symbols. Another challenge to Schinner's idea came in 2016. A computer scientist named Greg Kondrak and his students worked on a machine learning program. They trained this program on hundreds of different translations of the same passage. Based on this analysis, they proposed that the Voynich manuscript might have been written in Hebrew and written in a very unusual way. That's not all. A Turkish engineer and his son believe the strange writing is a phonetic way of writing a very old type of Turkish. They're planning to publish a paper about their theory shortly. Another study used statistics to analyze the appearance of the letters themselves. This research found patterns in how the symbols are drawn that seem similar to patterns you'd see in other known alphabets. Driven by ambition and the thrill of discovery, many people are eager to solve the mystery of the Voynich manuscript. However, medieval scholar Lise Davis cautions that tackling such a complex document requires a team effort. Specialists in various fields, not just someone with exceptional intelligence, must crack the code. To her, many researchers are driven by the desire for personal glory and a chance to prove their intelligence. She explains that the manuscript is more than just strange writing. It has illustrations, a specific binding, and unique inks used. A team with expertise in different areas would best understand it. Even though no one has solved the Voynich manuscript yet, research on it has been helpful in other ways. For instance, a physics expert from Brazil 2013 used the manuscript to test new methods for finding hidden patterns in languages. His findings suggested the text wasn't just random symbols. In another study, researchers focused on creating computer programs that could analyze languages. They tested their program on the Voynich manuscript, proposing it might be specially written in Hebrew. Neither theory solved the mystery. These studies developed useful tools for analyzing languages in general. Andreas Schinner says people will only know what will happen when they try new methods to decode it. Therefore, all these trials and errors will help researchers develop techniques useful for similar challenges in the future. The Voynich manuscript might forever be a puzzle with no answer. A science history expert, Robert Richards, uses this manuscript to teach a scientific concept. This concept is called a scientific paradigm. Scientists get so focused on a certain idea that they might miss things that don't fit with the idea. In the case of the Voynich manuscript, the mystery might bind researchers to other ways of understanding the text. A science historian, Robert Richards, compares the Voynich manuscript to a scene from Arrival. In the movie, aliens come to Earth and speak a language no one understands. Richards suggests the Voynich manuscript might not even be a real language. It's so different from anything we know and may not make sense. Even though the symbols look meaningful, there's only one way to ensure someone can translate. In the end, there's a chance the manuscript is just a silly joke someone made in medieval times. If you think the whole scientific community is struggling to interpret the contents of the Voynich manuscript, then this will shock you. Over the years, many people have claimed to have cracked the message of the manuscript, even though all of their claims have been disproved. Let's look at some of the leading claims. The first claim on decoding the Voynich manuscript dates back to 1921. A researcher called William Romain Newbold from the University of Pennsylvania made a lot of efforts to crack the Voynich manuscript code. His final idea will surprise you. He claimed that the text wasn't the weird symbols we see, but other tiny markings only visible under a magnifying glass. He explained that those tiny markings were based on an ancient Greek shorthand hiding the real message. Newbold even claimed that when he analyzed these hidden marks, he found the name of famous thinker Roger Bacon on the manuscript. He claimed that Bacon had used a super powerful microscope centuries before anyone else to create the markings. He also believed that the drawing represented a galaxy, suggesting that Bacon had advanced knowledge of space. However, another expert, John Matthews Manley, disagrees with Newbold. He pointed out that the tiny markings were likely ink cracks, not a secret code. Additionally, Newbold fraudulently rearranged letters from the shorthand to make Latin words. Today, most experts believe Newbold was mistaken. The tiny markings were just damaged, and he saw patterns where there weren't. The second major decipherment claim came from Joseph Martin Feely in 1943. Feely, like Newbold, believed he had cracked the Voynich manuscript code. He published a book titled Roger Bacon's Cipher: The Right Key Found, claiming the manuscript was written by Roger Bacon. Feely argued that the symbols were simply codes, each symbol for a single letter in an abbreviated Latin form used during the medieval ages. Unfortunately, despite his interesting ideas, Feely couldn't provide any convincing evidence to support his theory. After Feely came Lionel C. Strong. Strong was a cancer scientist, but he also loved puzzles and codes. He believed he had the key to unlocking the Voynich manuscript. Strong thought the solution was a system based on numbers and multiple alphabets. At 1947, he even published his translation of 2 pages. Strong claimed the real message revealed the author was a 16th century English writer named Anthony Ascham, who wrote an earlier book on plants. However, notes found after Strong passed away showed that his final steps, where he picked words to make sentences, might not have been needed to be reliable. After Strong, several other researchers have claimed to have cracked the Voynich manuscript, all of which have been debunked. In 1978, Robert S. Brumbaugh claimed it was a Latin-encoded forgery meant to deceive Emperor Rudolph II. John Stoshko, also in 1978, suggested it was written in vowelless Ukrainian, a theory criticized for its weak decryption methods and inconsistencies. In 2014, Stephen Bax said he had made partial decoding, claiming it was a Near Eastern or Asian treatise on nature, but no full translation was achieved before he died at 2017. In 2017, Nicholas Gibbs boasted that it was a plagiarized guide to women's health written in abbreviated Latin, but his work was dismissed as speculative. Greg Kondrak in 2017 said it was Hebrew encoded with alphagrams, but his findings were not convincing to experts. Ahmet Adrik, 2018, claimed it was Old Turkic, but his submission was rejected. Gerard Cheshire in 2019 argued it was written in Proto-Romance, a claim heavily criticized by experts and dismissed by the University of Bristol. Should we assume that the world will never be able to crack the Voynich manuscript? Kindly share your thoughts in the comment section. If you love historical videos with mystery, click the like and subscribe button. Thank you.